Welcome back, everyone, to the Altered TCG Tournament Results for the week ending 31 August 2025. I want to apologize, first of all. It's taken me a little while to get this one out. I've had a few things going on in our family, so I'm hoping that everything is okay. Thankfully, the kiddos are doing much better, and I'm able to go through the tournament. All right, let's start with AWOL Season 3, Week 11 on the 25th of August. 122 players, so we're getting back up to that almost cap mode there. The strongest of all the tournaments that we've got. This tournament had representation from every hero except from Waru. You can still see Waru is languishing in Outer Darkness. Hopefully that they, outside of a couple of players, they don't seem to do very well. I do hope that it becomes viable, or the other option, they completely get rid of him altogether and retire him from the playable heroes. This tournament in and of itself had two winners. We had Kojo and Buddha and Nevenka and Blotch, and what we're going to be seeing as we go through, Nevenka and Blotch is starting to become a more viable hero, just like we saw some of the Muna heroes get played a little bit over the last few weeks. We're starting to see not just Nevenka, but also Fen become much more important in the tournament scene. And if we get one hero from every faction to be viable, I think that's amazing. Bravos has got the best of all worlds right now, with all three heroes really getting strong representation, as you can see here as well. 1/4 of all the decks, so normally if you're evenly distributed, it'd be 1/6, but 1/4 of all decks just coming out from this faction. So well done on Bravos, as we will see throughout today. So Zerkel was our first pilot to go undefeated. He was using Kojo and Buddha, and the main thing to look at here is just using the three landmarks. Jewel of Grit and Mana Eruption are just staples in the way that you operate. Opting for the Tellurian Skater, I know that in discussions with Rinku, this is not a card he likes to use, but also having Mighty Djinns and Tiny Djinns available so that they can ramp to play the Hunger and then still be able to play something else after that as well, given they don't have the landmark available to them that will make it gigantic. It is really more used as a complete board wipe in the way that they play. Fire Rabbit, of course, also very much a staple. And we're seeing Bravos Excavator, so potentially looking to share some of those boosts that it has. But the Bravos Pathfinder is really, really strong purely because it's 3 stats available to them in 2 of the areas. Of course, it has got a 0. Heron Seringa also part of this, so to give them some level of card draw. That's the only thing I look at this deck is, will they have enough to be able to progress them? But one thing we haven't seen is looking at their uniques, and what we do have is 2 Axiom Salvages and a 3 Little Pig. The first 2 Axiom Salvages almost identical in what they can do. So 2/3 and 2/2 for 2/1/1 and then 1/2/2, but both have when played from anywhere resupply. And when a character, the first one has when a character joins your expedition, if you control 1 or more landmarks, I gain 1 boost. The other one has when played from reserve, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, you may have target character other than me lose fleeting. So an equivalent of a card draw per se, but the double resupply will get them there. So you're very much reliant on your uniques to give you card advantage, or in many cases, coming back to parity. The 3 Little Pigs, on the other hand, is a 4/4, so using a 4 cost available for 4/2/3, and if you control 1 or more landmarks, reduce my cost by 1. So in many cases, it will be a 3/3. And when I leave the expedition, draw a card. So you're going to be seeing this deck is finding ways through their uniques to give themselves the ability of getting additional cards. Very well done, and congratulations for winning. I would always call this the most prestigious of all the tournaments, given the amount of players that play. But all tournaments are good. All of them, we have a fantastic representation from great people around the world. The second, the second hero to have gone to have gone undefeated. I'm sorry, I went mind blank for a second. Was Helfa on Nevenka and Blotch. Very well done. So this is much more character-based than spell-based, but you are seeing hooked. 1 single hook, though. It's interesting. 1 single Requiem, 1 single Off You Go, 1 Cloth Cocoon. This is not the way I normally tend to play, but this is working for them. 3 magical trainings and 2 twinkle twinkles, really looking to really distribute a number of spells based on the composition of your opponent and how to play with them. Martingales, of course, are part of it. Ouroboros, Inkcaster, Tricksters. The Snowball Commando is a fun one. Bliss Guitarist. A Daedalus in the rare, which is now a staple in most decks. I would also call it a staple in many of the Bravos decks as well. The Sandman to Sleep. The one thing that I'm really interested in is how they use their 3 Khadgar and Mage Dancer uniques in their build. There's a little bit of card recursion here, though, with the Inkcaster, but not much in terms of what they're looking to bring in, which is surprising in terms of that's something that a lot of the Lyra heroes try to do. But the 3 uniques is a 2/2, a 1/2, and a 2/2 Khadgar and Mage Dancer. The first one gives you 0/2/0 in stats, and it has when played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, target character gains 1 boost. And when you roll 1 or more dice, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. So this is the hand recursion that I was looking for that I didn't see in the commons that much, or the rares, is they've got it in their uniques. The second one is a 1/2, and it gives you, when you roll 1 or more dice, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. That is fantastic, both of these. The when ability. So if you've got lots of these spells, and maybe that's why they're just using onesies, twosies, is they're really looking to recur them as much as possible to replay them out at a cheap cost. And the second Khadgar and Mage Dancer also has the quick ability of the next spell you play this turn costs 1 less. I do believe it is better for them to continue to use the card from reserve, play it out. Though it doesn't have much stats, the benefits are huge. The third Khadgar and Mage Dancer is 1/1/0 in stats, and when played from anywhere, I gain 1 boost. And once again, when you roll 1 or more dice, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. So 2 of them are focused on returning. Sorry, 1 of them is focused on. I will start again. All of them will return a card, not just a spell. So even stronger ability. Well done to Helfer for getting the win on Nevenka and Bloch. That then takes us to the League Latam tournament, and I need an update. So waiting on 39cards.com to publish the results from this tournament, and we'll be able to bring those in at a later point in time. So apologies to the team in Latam. We will get those results, and I'll talk about them once they become available. The next tournament is the Ace Single Elimination. So this is Kohlrabi's tournament. 21 players that we had, won by all of the marbles. Congratulations on Fen and Crowbar. So now we're seeing the second of the Lyra characters together. We just need Aurak to get the trifecta, and they can join Bravos as being a strong faction. But unfortunately, I don't see that coming this set. It may be next set when we get it. This is an interesting Fen and Crowbar build, purely because it is built up on a Hydrocana. The Lokis, I would assume, are looking to board wipe your opponent, or the equivalent of board wipe. So it's hand and reserve wipe. What they've got, you've got Aloe Veras to be able to try to anchor, and very few spells. So of course you've got the Twinkle Twinkles, 2 Duel of Grits, and the Cloth Cocoons, but I am more interested in seeing how they would use to play out the Hydrocana and the Mighty Djinns for some level of ramp as well. Of course, you're going to have an Anansi's in there. That is just a staple in the way that Fen and Crowbar build. But I want to have a look at their 3 uniques. The first of which, so these are expensive uniques, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 7, 7 for the 3 Lokis. 7, 3, 5 for the first one. You may discard a card from your reserve. If you do, each player discards their hand and reserve, then draws 3 cards. With Fen having so many issues in not being able to get enough card draw in the late game, this card is really great because it impacts your opponent and makes sure they don't have anything. And if you, for some reason, are able to get cards anchored, then you are better for it. So you have the ability of anchoring the Aloe Vera, but you also have the ability of anchoring Hydrocana, potentially even using your Twinkle Twinkles to keep things on your board a little bit longer as well. And it does have a quick ability of the next character you play this turn gains 1 boost. The second Loki has that exact same ability from when it's a quick ability, but 6/6 for 4/6/6, and exactly the same wording. You may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, each player discards their hand and their reserve, then draws the 3 cards. So this type of deck was made famous during the World Qualifiers, where we had a Nevenka actually join the top tables. They did not win, but they did get themselves a ticket to the big show in at the end of the year. The third Loki has exactly the same effect for 7/7 for 6/7/6, but it has a different quick ability, which is each character control of a target player gains fleeting. So not bad. All of the marbles has got some very, very strong Lokis. And I see him using various different decks throughout the week. So not stuck on one hero, just playing everything and being strong at everything from the looks of it. The AQZ Nook tournament that was played on Wednesday, the 27th of August, had 58 players, so a slight reduction on last week. And same as we saw with AWOL, you had representation from every hero but Waru. And we are still seeing the set breakdown being basically 60-20-20 among the different sets, 60 being BTG Beyond the Gates. This tournament was won by Kojo and Buddha, so getting their second win of the week, this time though piloted by GDR Gardo's deck, and you can see here that the mess has been played as a way of being able to get additional card draw. Though it is resupply, it's not draw, it's resupply to get it. And they also have the physical training rares so that they can get more cards in hand. Very much becoming a staple. You're seeing the hunger with the Mighty Djinns and the Tiny Djinns being played. The only difference is the Mighty Djinn is just 2, not 3, and they have some more interaction with the Order Spy being part of this build. They are using the bouncer, so and 3 skaters, which is a big difference from the other one. So looking to boost the cards you have out rather than multitude of cards coming out on here. And of course, the Haven Seringa as staple yet again. What's interesting when you look at the landmarks, though, is only one Bravos Bastion, focusing more on the mess and rather than the boosting capability of the cards in reserve. All right, then that takes us to AWOL Wednesday's tournament. So for the Americas on the 27th of August, small representation this time, only 30 players. That seems pretty low, and that's an increase from the prior week, I believe. I may not have done it properly, but I'll have a look. So, and this was won by a Achadi, so we are seeing Brea Danwater, and all of the marbles came second. So he won with Fen, with Fen, and then came second with Achadi the next day. So looking at Brea Danwater's Achadi build, you're really looking. Let's have a look. 3 Sakurabrus, of course, a given. 3 Eroses. That's a very interesting build. So their heavy cards are Eroses, Theseus's, 1 Kaibara, 2 Hungers. That makes sense with what they can do. 1 single Mana Eruption, 1 single Physical Training, 1 Arcolano Milk, 2 Energy, Eat Me Energy Bars, and bringing 3 Scholar's Vault to reduce the cost of those expensive characters by 1. The Eat Me Energy Bars, though, is a question of would you use them for the Hunger or would you use them for Sakurabrus? You have 5 options for which to use them, and of course, since Eat Me Energy Bars will go to your reserve, you actually have up to 10 chances to use it, so you probably do not need any more. You've got Tiny Djinns and Mighty Djinns, and a single Swift Djinn, but that is the unique, and I'm excited to see what they've got there. So let's look at that. The first one is a Haven Warrior, 4/4 for 5/2/4. When I leave the Expedition Zone, you may pay 1. If you do, put the top card of your deck in your mana zone, so allowing you to mana ramp again. And this allows you to do it twice. The Dracana 3/3 for 1/1/3. I gain Anchored and at noon. So I gain Anchored when played from hand. And at noon it sabotages. So you have 1 option to sabotage at noon, which is not bad at all. But you'll only be able to use it once because you do not get Anchored from reserve. And then a 5/5 for 5/4/5 Swift Djinn, Scout 3, and you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, put the top card of your deck in your mana zone, and that is from anywhere, so the double ramp. 2 uniques giving you the double ramp, 1 allowing you to do a single sabotage. Not bad at all. That takes us to the online tournaments being completed. We also had 3 world qualifiers happening. The first one that we'll talk about is in Chile, which had 43 players. and that was won by a Sigismar in Wingspan. It's been a while since I've seen Sigismar win, especially one of these qualifiers. Congratulations to TDC Zarp MH, who ended up beating out a Fenn Crowbar in the final, and with that getting a seat on the plane to get to Paris. And what you're looking at here in terms of their build is 2 Gifts of Self, once again acknowledging that Sigismar needs the card draw given most of their cards are soloed to the ground, 3 license withdrawals, 3 teamwork trainings, basically copy and paste of what I end up doing in a lot of my decks, where we've got their uniques are 1 Orders Cadet, 2 Baba Yagas. Baba Yagas, I would assume, will give you the card draw, but we'll have a look through that. Opting for the Bumblebeats as part of their build, and the Frog Prince, which is starting to come back in fashion, and also only having 2 common order spies and 1 rare, basically taking one of the rare slots that would have been assigned to the Sandman, with them only playing 2 Sandmans and making one of their order spies the additional, giving you the ability of getting an Orders Trooper. So quite interesting. Orders Accountant also will give you the chance to sleep when played from reserve. So let's have a look at the uniques they've got and whether or not they are leveraging those benefits from the cards that they've got. So the first Baba Yaga is a double draw. So draw from anywhere, and if you control 4 or more characters, when played from reserve, you may discard target permanent. Not bad for 3/3 for 1/1/3. Ultimately, it is there for the card draw, not the stats. The Orders Cadet is a 1/1 for 1/0/0. When another non-token character joins your expedition, if you control 3 or more characters, create an Orders Recruit soldier token in your hero expedition, so it's focused on only the hero side where you get it. But when played from reserve, unless you have 8 or more mana, create an Orders Recruit soldier token in my expedition. So not bad. It's an interesting spawner, token spawner. The fact that it only helps you on the hero side in terms of getting that unlimited gameplay may be difficult to play, but then you'll also make sure that you work your this card to give you the value when you need it. And then the third unique was another Baba Yaga, 3/3 for 3/3/1, a little bit better stats, and at dusk you draw a card, so it's not immediate. All right, the second of the tournaments, and I had a chance to be on stream for this. I appreciate the opportunity to have done this with some of my AWOL teammates, and unfortunately they did have some issues with their stream when we were on it, and myself and a guy try and basically created our 45-minute segment while we were waiting into a podcast, so please listen into that. A lot of discussion on new heroes, new mechanics, what's good, what's wrong, what do we think is the best decks, and how to counter some of them. So have a look at that. We had 46 players in Montreal. A number of Americans ended up attending that as well, so it wasn't just Canadians. And that was won by Skybeast on Traced and Rossum. So congratulations to Skybeast, who has also booked themselves a ticket to Paris. And their deck was 6 landmarks, 3 Haven Bastions, choosing for 2 Kellon Cylinders and 1 Armored Jammer. So really wanting to get the ability of triggering the Haven Bastion if you can. The Armored Jammer, I was having a look at what I do with my Trace deck, and I thought I used to only play 5 to 6, and looks like now I'm at 7 or 8 landmarks with the way that I play it. I am going to be told otherwise, I know, but it is working for me. 2 bug out bags, and looking for only 2 cooked. So really saying I don't need the card draw. I'm going to get the benefit from the Trace trigger coming off. 2 avalanches, which is good. You need to start having, I think this is what Trace players are starting to do, is getting a little bit more interaction in the way that they build, and 1 Kellon Burst. So opting for the Kellon Burst as opposed to Boom in the way that they've done this. The Frankensteins, so the reason why you have these landmarks and they're opting for Bravos Bastion is so the Frankenstein can hit the Bravos Bastion to get a resupply as opposed to a boost, is the way I'm looking at it here. Of course, the Grems are going to be played. You're more than happy to get rid of any of these landmarks, especially if the Kellon Cylinders just cost you 1. That may be something you can play out as part of your game state as well. All right, let's have a look at the uniques these guys had in their build. So the first one is a Potter Otter, 2/2 for 1/2/2, and when played from anywhere, each player may put a card from their hand in reserve, and also when played from anywhere, the next permanent you play this afternoon costs 1 less. That is nice. That is nice, given nothing really that is in these guys' hands is going to cost more than 3. And your landmarks are already worth costing 2 and potentially will be free if you try to play out the Kellon cylinder after playing this. Not bad at all. Sap Sniffer was the second unique, 2 for 2/1/1 in stats, and you may augment a target card in play or in reserve when played from anywhere. And when played from reserve, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If it's a permanent, I gain 1 boost per landmark you control. So very easy to actually get 3 boosts from that as well. Sorry, 2 boosts from that. The last of the uniques was a Jan Assembly Overseer. Nice looking card. 2/3 for 2/3/0, and you may sacrifice a permanent if you do resupply. So in that sticky pinch that you're in, you will be able to use it. This also has a passive ability. Sorry, not passive ability. These are just called your quick abilities of you may activate the arrow ability of a target permanent you control. Once again, they are opting for the Haven Bravos Bastion above anything else. The next tournament, which we know very little about, was the Taiwan tournament played in Taipei. We don't know the number of players that were played. We do know that Basira and Sigismar were in the final, and the winner was Wu Cheng. I had to Google that to be able to try to find the translation, but thankfully I was able to do it, with their Basira and Kaisermon beating out a Sigismar and Wingspan. So congratulations to Basira. Now, that is, I would say, very interesting with the way that this worked out. Basira is using just a single Arcolano Milk as their gear slash permanence that is being played. Way more characters than what I would normally see in a Basira. Choosing for 2 physical trainings for the card draw, mana eruptions, of course, Jewel of Grit, that's just a given, but using the commons and not the rare, so you will not get rid of the card, or just put it in reserve. 2 hungers, 3 occlutes, a lot more interaction than we saw in the other builds earlier today, but really well done. I love the Blade Dancers, so that's probably why the physical training is so important there, so you can have but 1 common and 2 rares. They're using Isunboshi, so listening into a number of players who are starting to turn to Isunboshi as a good, quick win in many cases, especially on day 1, and then using their ability of boosting later on. And that is, and unfortunately, one thing with their uniques, so we know that they had a Cuddly Corgi as one of their uniques. We have no idea what that Cuddly Corgi does because it's not been coded properly, unfortunately, in 39 cards. I don't know why. But their other unique was Bravos Tracer, 2/1/1. I gain fleeting, and you may pay 1 if you do. You may have target character other than me lose fleeting and gain 1 boost. And then a Tomoe Gozen, 3/4 for 1/3/3. I can't be played if you have less than 7 mana orbs. That's basically the text in all Tomoe Gozen, though I do believe some of them have a different number of mana that you need to have, but you may pay 1. If you do, up to 2 target characters each gain 2 boosts, and that is fantastic value when you're paying that additional 1, and that is from anywhere. Well, that takes us to the end of the tournament. It was the end of this week's discussion. I am looking forward to see who can double up and what ends up happening next week as we discuss the BGA tournament for the Americas. Not to mention, I do believe there was also a couple of other qualifiers happening. Spain, I think, is one as well. But we will talk about that next time. Hasta luego.